Okay, so today in the do for strategic planning, we're going to use two case study examples, one being HubSpot and the other one being Toyota. All right, so up first is HubSpot and how really they are creating an industry and then absolutely dominating the industry. Okay, so HubSpot isn't as famous as Airbnb or Toyota, but they're worth over $2 billion. And more impressively, they've achieved that valuation in an industry that didn't even exist before they invented it themselves. That industry is known as inbound marketing. Most of the marketing that we experience is known as interruption marketing. This is where adverts are pushed out to you whether you like it or not. Think TV adverts, billboards, Google AdWords, etc. In 2004, HubSpot created a software platform that aimed to turn this concept of marketing on its head. The HubSpot marketing platform helped companies to write blog posts, create ebooks, and share their content on social media. The theory was that if you could produce enough good quality content to pull people to your website, then just enough of them might stick around to take a look at the product you're actually selling. Okay, what's behind the blog? This was a big deal. I can tell you from personal experience that interruption marketing is really, really expensive. Okay, we've paid Google around $10 each time someone clicks onto one of our AdWord adverts. Remember, that's $10 per click, not per sale. That adds up pretty fast. On the other hand, our blog receives approaching 1 million clicks per year at a cost of nothing. I've written before about how inbound marketing basically saves our business. So it's fair to say that this example is pretty close to my heart. They coined the term inbound marketing. And long story short, they're now one of the biggest SaaS companies in the world. But that's not the interesting part of this story. So, what can we learn from HubSpot? The interesting part of this story is this. HubSpot created a new type of marketing. They then used that type of marketing to market their own company, whose sole purpose was to sell a platform that created that new type of marketing. Head hurting yet? Mine too. In a nutshell, HubSpot had an idea for a cool new way of marketing. Most companies would have taken that new way of marketing and applied it to something that they were already selling. But instead, the HubSpot guys decided to monetize the marketing strategy itself. They took a whole bunch of concepts that already existed, blogging, ebooks, websites, etc., and packaged them into a new way of doing things. Not only that, but they created an awesome narrative and then proved how powerful this new way of marketing could be by building a $2 billion business from it. They smoked their own dope and made themselves very, very rich in the process. So, innovation, I mean, a huge takeaway from this for strategic planning was, innovation and using things that already exist, strategically plan them out into a repackaged product. Okay, so pretty neat how HubSpot was able to design this, strategically plan it, and basically overtake the market. Okay. Up next, we're going to discuss Toyota. So Toyota, I mean, huge company, obviously. One of the things that really stands out is humility. Okay. And one of their coined phrases is humility can be the best business strategy. Okay. So in 1973, the big three car makers in the USA had over 82% of the market share. Today, they have less than 50%. The main reason for this is the aggressiveness and unexpected entry of Japanese car maker led by Toyota into the US market in the 1970s. Cars are big, heavy, and expensive to move around. That's one of the reasons why the US market was so surprised when Toyota started selling Japanese made cars in the US at prices for lower than they could match. The car industry was a huge contributor to the US economy. So, one of the first reactions from the government was to implement protectionist taxes on all imports of cars. thus making Japanese cars as expensive as locally made cars. But the tactic failed. Within a few years, Toyota, and by now others too, had managed to establish production plants on U.S. soil, thus eliminating the need to pay any of the hefty new import taxes. At first, U.S. car makers weren't all that worried. Surely, by having to move production to the US, the production costs for Japanese car makers would rise up to roughly the same of those of the local car makers. But that didn't happen. Toyota continued to output cars now made locally on US soil for significantly cheaper than US companies could. Their finely honed production processes were so efficient and lean that they were able to beat US car makers at their own game. You've probably heard of the notion of continuous improvement. In the world of manufacturing, Toyota are pretty much the grandfather of exactly this concept. So, what can we learn from Toyota? Most business success stories that you've read, especially in the Western world, involve bold moves and against all odd tales of bravery, which is what makes this particular story so unique. Toyota spent years studying the production lines of American car makers such as Ford. They knew that the US car industry was more advanced and more efficient than the Japanese one. So they waited. They studied their competitors and tried to copy what the Americans did so well. They blended these processes with the strengths of their own and came up with something even better. Toyota proved that knowing their own weaknesses can be the key to success and be one of the best business strategies you can ever deploy. Not just that, can you name a single famous executive at Toyota? I can't. Not one. And one of the reasons is that Toyota's number one corporate value is humility. Not even the most senior plant executives have named car spaces of their own. The humility that helps them to crack the US market runs deep in the organization, from the executives to the assembly workers. So, as you can see in these two case studies, how strategic planning really took both of these companies from where they were to where they are today. And this is a huge factor that helped these companies and can help your company grow, scale, and win.